Next is the fuel pump, which you're gonna run these wires down and under to the back. It's already got the relay on it. I just gotta figure out where inline we're gonna put it. All right, there's no good place to mount this, but I got it out of the way of the suspension, and I got the fuel pump mounted there. I'm gonna run the lines there, and I got the filter I'm gonna tuck up into there. But you know, it's just your generic Holley EFI fuel pump. I'll put a link to it in the description below. Some other odds and ends. I just got to get a cap for this, for the return. We're doing returnless. You're gonna see how that goes. It's a lot easier to hook up. I got a new ground cable there. The old one wasn't quite long enough and it was frayed. So that actually goes to the ground on the starter. And then you attach this wire here to the starter, and that should provide power to it. Not hooking anything up yet. Got the alternator wires on, that should be good. Got to do the coolant vent. Put the radiators on, looks great. Buttoning up things. I'm running out of stuff to do before I try firing this up. A lot of stuff done to the car from what you're just seeing other than the 302 swap. I did disc brake swap in the front, and that swaps to 5 lug. In the back, I did the V8 rear axle, which has 5 lug on it as well. Did a new gas tank, full exhaust system. Have you guys even seen inside the car? It's in pretty good shape for what it was when we got it. Just some other things we got to button up, but the car is really starting to come together. All right, now that I'm in the car, everything's on. You go to Wizards, Sniper 2 injector 2300. It's 8 cylinders, displacement 302, right? Target idle speed 820, sure, that's good for now. Cam type stock mild. Coil, even though it's a HEI distributor, it's coil. And then you got to hit start and that'll do it all for you. I already did it once, so we're not going to actually do it again, but that's exactly what you do. And then from here, you could go on here, you can see your monitors, multi-gauge, vitals. It'll show you everything there. Coolant temperature, and then you go to sensors here. You can see the TPS is saying it's 81, it's stuck open, but everything else is there. It's got everything on there, so everything else is looking pretty good so far. And that's how you program the Sniper EFI, and this is the gauges. I'm probably gonna mount them somewhere that way I could see them. The RPMs are accurate on that, so I don't have a tachometer on this right now, but it's an automatic too, so I don't have to worry about it. But everything else on the dashboard should also work as long as I have everything else hooked up, like the oil sensor, fuel, and coolant temperature sensor. You have to have a separate coolant temperature sensor for this than you would because you're running the coolant temperature sensor for the Holley through that. So you have to actually have 2 coolant temperature sensors if you want to actually see it on the car itself. But for me, the Holley works fine. So yeah, that's how you program it. Okay, I already did one video on how we wired up the Holley Sniper EFI system on our 1966 Ford Mustang 302 swap. And we're almost got everything ready to go to start it up. And, you know, of course you have some of these troubleshooting issues. So I'm going to go over some of the troubleshooting issues that I've had with this so far, because maybe you're searching for that when you're trying to watch this video and you're trying to figure it out too. Now, we originally took out our C4 automatic and put in an AOD. And now that everything is in and wired everything up, our ignition wire wasn't working. We could crank it over with the key by jumping the solenoid here to here, but we just couldn't get a signal from the key. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? I thought the neutral safety switch, which won't allow the car to turn over, was somewhere in the shifter. So as long as the shifter was in park, it would engage to allow you to turn it over. But the C4 automatics have a neutral safety switch on the transmission. And since I pulled that out, I must have unplugged it and did not plug a new one in with the AOD. Now there is a neutral safety switch on that and I'll wire it in, but I wanted to show you what I did just to jump it in the meantime. So these 2 wires here, they come through your main harness and they're up there. This black plug is for your neutral safety switch. This red one here is for your reverse lights, I think. So just by jumping these 2 wires together, I was able to get it to turn over. Now, I still have some other problems, and I have to troubleshoot that now, but I think for the most part, we're almost ready to have this thing fired up. Had to change some things around on the Holley Sniper EFI in terms of the distributor. The distributor that it had needed an ignition box, which I didn't have, so I just went out and bought an HEI distributor. HEI is simple, one wire right to it, and it grounds itself. So this yellow wire here, that comes from the Holley, the 7-pin. That goes into the plug on this side. You can buy these plugs. It goes into the plug on that side. I don't know if you can see, it's a green wire here. So that yellow from the Holley goes to the green wire on this HEI plug. You can get it at any auto parts store. The red wire then goes to, keyed on power, right? And then I'm gonna I gotta clean this up, but I also have it also coming from here too to give it a little extra juice while it's turning over for spark. But this port here isn't on when the car's on, only when you're cranking. That's on the solenoid there, so maybe you can see it better like that. I still haven't tied up everything perfectly yet. So that goes there. The next wire you have to have is this pink wire. That goes to keyed ignition. The problem I had with this car though, when I had it on the ignition key or any 12-volt power, when I went to turn it over, the screen went dead, which means it's not gonna fire anything, nothing's gonna work. It has to power itself all the way back up, which is not gonna work. So what I did was, I wired this wire here actually to constant 12-volt battery power. Now, I know what you're gonna say, you're gonna drain the battery, and I will. But what I'm gonna do is put a hideaway switch underneath the dashboard. It'll also help for anti-theft, and you can't turn the car on without flipping the switch and powering on the Holley. That ensures I have constant 12-volt power. Now, maybe on a newer car where I have more things to tap into, that's got a stronger 12-volt signal with the key on, it might work. But with this, couldn't figure it out. So that was what I did, and it's gonna work fine either way. I had to find top dead center on the pulley. So right from this thing here, it'll say 0 degrees, and that's top dead center. Now, what I also did was I pulled cylinder 1, the spark plug, and then as I cranked it, I stuck my finger in cylinder 1, and then as I turned it over with a wrench, turned the crank over with a wrench, when that started to compress up and push my finger out of the hole, then when it got here to top dead center is when I knew that I was at top dead center. Then wherever the rotator here was pointing, it was pointing over this way. So for me, or was pointing this way. So for me, this was cylinder number 1, and then I have to work it around that way. All right, so the main reason that it didn't fire up there is because it's not a Chevy engine. Now, don't go crazy. I mean it, seriously. So I was thinking because this front right cylinder was cylinder 1 on the Ford, I'm thinking it's just like my LS engine, how it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7. So I had the wires 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8 on the driver's side, which in reality it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I swapped all the wires accordingly, and once I did that, thing fired right up. It is what it is. My mistake, not Holley's fault. I'm gonna blame Ford for not having a good cylinder numbers, but that's just me just being a hater. The only other thing I have to do is I do have to replace the TPMS sensor. It sticks, so I just got to get a new one of those. And like I said, I have to adjust the AOD TV cable. I'll do that in a separate episode because I'm still working on that there. So stay tuned to see how I actually figure that out. Car should be able to drive. I don't want to actually drive the car until I have the AOD TV cable set up because I don't want to burn up the transmission, but everything else is working on a car. I probably could drive it if I really needed to move it around or do something. So Make sure you guys stay up to date on all my uploads. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the like button. Anytime you guys hit the like button, it lets YouTube know that other people should be watching this video too. I hope I did a good job explaining the Holley Sniper EFI setup on that. If you're interested about Holley Terminator X, I did an entire video on Holley Terminator X on my E36 Turbo LS swap. So make sure you check that video out too if you're looking for info on how to do a Terminator X. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.